calculate is only the, you must know only the function value. This is another very important class of methods, and unlike gradient based methods, in gradient based methods I also told you there is a Newton's method which is more than 300 years old, right? So in place of there, uh, as compared to those are classical or traditional methods, these are more recent in origin. You think they are less than 50 years old, and they became popular only after the 90s. Okay, that history part, as and when we go along, I'll tell you a little to understand. But for now, these work very differently as compared to gradient based methods. In terms of classification, gradient based methods are indirect and gradient free methods are direct. Okay, so like I told you yesterday, there are other you can also define optimization in terms of static or dynamic optimization, single objective or multiple objective, etc., etc. So towards the end, I told that optimization is a vast area. Maybe in future, you can have one full branch of engineering dedicated to that. So that vast kind of area. We are not attempting to cover all of them, but the two most popular categories being gradient based and gradient free methods, we are just about trying to scratch the surface and understand something out of this, because from the inputs I got, many of you are young faculty looking to publish. Many of you are young faculty looking to publish or progress in career. So a lot of that kind of considerations are there, needs are there. So this presentation I have discontinued yesterday's and started with this, only with the intention of exposing you all even to this method. Okay, so the gradient based methods have many names. Gradient is a concept that comes from calculus, so it's also known as calculus based methods. So what we did in that, if you remember, is we always have to guess one initial point. Then we have to move to some x of some x0. You think this initial point, we have to move to x1. We have to move to x1 that is better than the present point in terms of the function value. The function value at x of 1 must be lower. Okay, the default case is minimization. So the function value in f of x1 must be lower than the function value at x of 0. And now, how you get this x of 1? I told you many methods yesterday. GDM, gradient descent method, SDM, steepest descent method, Newton's method, then LMM, then conjugate methods, right? So even leaving out these 5 which I told you, 6 I told you exactly, 2 conjugate methods. There are a few more methods, but we need not worry about that. That's again a endless list. Okay, not endless, but a very large list. And there are also a lot of other methods like for example, Professor Bedecker was saying if the function is linear. Then there was someone else who covered that kind of basics. So that is all that we discussed yesterday. But today we'll look at so still on the topic, all these gradient based methods are also known as hill climbing methods. Why hill climbing methods? Because if you have a hill like this, you think the man is standing here. What he'll do is He is a blind man. He is a blind man. Okay, not that he has vision, that he can see the valley here directly. All that he'll do standing here is feel the slope in all directions and then move in the direction of maximum decrease of slope. Okay, so that is all the blind man can do. That is all it means when we say that we are moving in the direction of minus g, where g is gradient. Okay, or first derivative. So that is a summary of this calculus based methods. A blind man climbing down the hill with the help of information that he acquired by feeling the slope with his hands or maybe very limited vision. Okay, and also we saw the problem with what can happen if you use that without understanding for Newton's method, right? So let me now think deeply about what I said. You need to have that gradient information. Only then you can move in the direction of negative gradient, right? And not just that, if I have a function like this, I have a function like this, you think, if I leave the man here, if I leave the man here, he is going to go here. He is not going to go here. He is going to go to a local optimum, local minimum, because that is all that he can do. That is all that he can do. He cannot uh, cross this, go in opposite direction, cross this, and try to find the global minimizer. Wherever he is, for example, you leave him here, he is going to reach only here. This kind of functions are known as multimodal functions. So for this kind of functions, those gradient based methods will find only a local minimizer, not a global minimizer. Okay, they are applicable only to unimodal functions. Unimodal means, let us say, like bowl kind of functions. Okay, you leave him here, very nicely he'll reach, very happily he'll reach the lowermost point, the minimizer. But you will leave him in this kind of landscape, he cannot. He is going to find only a local minimizer, and that is not all the story. If my solution space is like this, you think, if I leave him here, there is no way that he can find the slope. If the landscape is not smooth enough for him to find the slope, there is no way that he can find the slope. And what that means in terms of the maths is, if the function must be differentiable. If it is non-differentiable, then the blind man cannot do anything. The hill climbing method cannot do anything. Okay, so that is one problem. Another problem is, you think like this, there is a discontinuity. You leave the man here, there is a discontinuity here like this, you think. He is no way he is going to jump across this gap and continue his journey. His journey will stop here where there is a discontinuity. And why that is important in practical problems is, for example, in electrical engineering, generators have what is known as prohibited operating zones, POZ. So if you are at one end of the prohibiting opposite zone, operating zone, how do you cross that prohibited zone and go to the other side of it? There is no way, or at least that is a basic. Even with gradient based methods, before this gradient free methods, people tried to devise ways of dealing with that kind of discontinuities, but that kind of discontinuities are far more easily handled by gradient free methods. Okay, Then the next thing is all these methods, gradient based methods or classical methods or calculus based methods, they all need a good enough initial guess solution. Yesterday I already told you, when you have that Newton's method, if you don't have a good enough guess solution, what happens is, instead of going downwards to the minimizer, you end up at some other point. I showed you that example, right? And what can be a good initial guess solution? A good initial guess solution is something that is close enough to the optimizer. And to know what is close enough to the optimizer, then you should know what is the optimizer. Only then you can choose a point close to the optimizer, right? And if you already know the optimizer, then where is the need for us to solve the problem or try to solve the problem, right? So that is why this joke, okay, joke, not seriously. We can use Newton's method if we know the answer. Okay, once we know the answer, we can choose a good enough initial guess solution. We can solve the problem. But when you don't know, we don't know how to use. So one practical way, you might ask, then how do we, or why, how do we use Newton's method? Now and then it also works. How does it work? What we do is we try different initial guess solutions. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not work. By repeated trial and error, we solve the problem. And sometimes we'll get this minimizer. Sometimes maybe this, sometimes this, sometimes this. What we'll do is, the minimizers that we got by applying these methods with different initial starting points, we note all of them, then we compare, then we try to find which is the global minimizer, right? So but the summary of what I'm telling you is, these are not always the best methods for all the problems, especially if the function is multimodal. It is not differentiable, it has discontinuities, right? So when, if all that is there, these methods, they don't work like we would want them to work. So then what can be done about it? Okay, so just to give you a idea of multimodal functions, this is a very famous function, always used in optimization. So anybody knows the name of that? Okay, so audience, there is a lot that you need to learn. Okay, uh, having a lot to learn is not bad, but some curiosity, eagerness, willingness to learn must be there, without which what progress in life may not be possible. Okay, so hopefully I don't teach so boringly. Okay, even if somebody speaks very boringly, if you want to get some of his knowledge, you have to strain yourself. All this learning exercises cannot be like movies in a theater. In a theater, only a small fraction of films made are actually hits. Rest of them flop. And if that is the case with movies whose sole purpose is entertainment, then you can imagine about teaching. Maybe probably many of you are teachers yourselves. If students say, okay, he's not teaching well, so I'll not learn that subject, what will happen? Right? So same thing here, you think. This function, okay, have a look at it. This material also will be there, shared with you. This is known as Himmelblau function. Another, this is a multimodal function, as you can see. How many minimums? How many minimums?
Four.
People are right. Good. Okay, who is that? Who was that? Can you please tell your name? 1 minute, I'll drink water and continue.
Rajnikant Maitri, sir.
Yes, sorry, your name? Oh, Rajnikant. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you, Rajnikant. Asha. So that's the. There are four minimums here. Okay, like somebody pointed out, these blue spots, they are the minimums, and this is the contour of this. That is, this is x1 you think, this is x2 you think. The contours. Already yesterday I told you what are contours are level sets if the dimension is more than 2. Contours are lines, closed curves that join points of same function value. The bluer color is more lower value. The as we go in RGB in blue, the red color is highest value. The lowest values are blue in this. Okay, so as you can see from this 3D surface figure or from this contour, there are four minimums, and not this is from net. Okay, Wikipedia I think. I also draw what once you have function, drawing that with the use of MATLAB is no big deal, right? So I also plotted. Only thing is my figures have not been refined to show this contrast as much as these figures from the net. I'll show you next the figures that I have plotted. Okay, these are the figures I plotted. But the added advantage in the figures that I plotted, okay, the contours is it shows the values of x1 and x2 for those minimums, for those four minimums. Okay, one minimum is 3 2, that's here. Okay, that's here. Another minimum is 3.5 minus 1.8. Another minimum is minus minus 3 something. Another, okay, that minus 3 is here I think. Then plus 3, then minus 1. So that is plus 3 minus 1 must be, this must be the, somewhere here I think, this one I think. Okay, I am not very okay, give me a minute. Let us do this very slowly. So this is 3. Okay, this is 3. X1 is 3. X2 is 2. So this is the first one, 3 2. Minus 2.8 plus 3.1 is minus 2.8 is somewhere here, plus 3.1 is here. Okay, so this is that second one. This is the first one. Third one is both minus, so that is here. Then the fourth one is plus 3 minus. Okay, so now all those four I have identified. So that information is there in the plot that I am showing you, which is not there in the figure you get from the net. So what will happen? This is okay. This is an example of a multimodal function. Himmel function is an example of a multimodal function. Okay. So in methods like all those methods we told yesterday, if you leave the blind man here, if this is my starting point, he is going to find only this and say that this is the minimizer. If I leave him somewhere in this area, he is going to say that this is going to be the minimizer. If you leave him somewhere here, he is going to say that This is the minimizer. Okay, somewhere here maybe he is going to find this minimum. In other words, you have to play the role of guide or Sherpa. You know, all these people who climb mountains in the Himalayas, they have assistants known as Sherpas. Okay, in fact, one of the two people who climbed Mount Everest first was a Sherpa. One was Hillary from New Zealand, the other was Tenzing Norgay from Nepal, a Sherpa. Okay, I think in early 1951 or 52 somewhere, right? So basically, you need to guide these gradient-based methods to be successful by giving them a good starting point. That's the summary. Now, or okay, summary of same thing in different language. Gradient-based methods are not applicable to multimodal functions because they find only the local and not global minimum, and not applicable to non-differentiable functions or discontinuous functions. Non-differentiable means it can be because of noise in the function. Okay, if I say y(f) equal to x square, there is no noise in that. But I'll show you a few slides later what is noise in a function. Okay, in practical terms, the measurement, if it is inaccurate, the measurement, if it is continuously inaccurate, still the function will be smooth. But if that measurement is not uh, having the same amount of error in the consecutive readings, then that is random noise. Okay, so noise can also be there in measurements when you try to plot f versus x. So that is noise. If function is discontinuous, we are very interested in this function being discontinuous because that applies very much to us. In electrical engineering, economic dispatch problems, generators having prohibited operating zones is very common. Okay, there is no way that you can eliminate these discontinuities in the generating operation curve. And then not just that, when you have discrete functions, again you can't find derivative. So you can't apply these gradient based methods. In the next few slides, I'll show you examples of this. Okay. This is, for example, a multimodal function. I showed you one function here, Himmelblau function, which is a example I use always because it is quite simple. You can find derivative, second derivative, you can do a lot of things with this. And we know all these minimizers in that. Okay, so that is a function that I always use. But MATLAB also has one inbuilt multimodal function. Okay, so in peaks, now uh, uh, Aparna, do we have time? So, can I go to MATLAB and show that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so for a moment, I'll disconnect from this presentation, go to MATLAB, then I'll type that and show you what that command peaks produces. Okay, I have shared this it. Okay, I'll type peaks here. When the figure comes, then I'll share that. Okay, so I got this by typing peaks. I got this by typing peaks in MATLAB command window. Okay, now it's visible on your screen. So what it means is I should not switch too much because that's going to kill some time. Right. Okay, so this will be the last time. Maybe if we have time in the end, I'll show you one more demo. So I'll go back to our entire screen. Okay, once for a moment, I'll try once entire screen if it is allowing. No, even today it's not allowing entire screen. Okay, probably only once more I'll show you. Otherwise, no switching between these screens. Okay. So this is an example of another multimodal function. As you can see, this function is really somewhat complicated. It is a sum of two Gaussian distribution functions. Okay, so that's why in classroom kind of examples I don't give because first derivative, second derivative, etc. finding is a bit difficult. Okay, but otherwise we have what it's a very colorful, nice looking, attractive function which can be used to show to beginners. Okay, so next is some more of these figures I have. It's not that only if you have two variables x1 and x2 that you can have multimodal functions. Even for single variable functions, you can have multimodal functions. Okay, so you see that there are two minimums, there are three minimums, two maximums, and this is another famous function known as sync function. Okay, that to be the king of functions by I think Gauss, a famous mathematician Gauss, I think. Okay, sync function. Okay, sync function is again a multimodal function. Like okay, even sine function you think. If you take sine between minus 2 pi to what some n pi to minus n pi to plus n pi, you can have many minimums, many maximums. But here the difference is of these three minimums, one is a local minimum, right? So that is the sync, different from the sine. Okay. So the, even in one dimension, even for single variable function, it can be multimodal. That's the summary I want. That's the summary I want to convey. Discontinuous function. Okay, so these are discontinuous functions. Discontinuous means maybe you can draw the function without lifting your pen or pen from the paper. But the point is the kind of discontinuity we are talking here is different. For the same value of x, you have two values of y. So there is no derivative in that for that value of x. So that is what we mean by discontinuity, not a physically discontinuous function. Okay, so that distinction you must remember. And next, a discrete function. Suppose it's defined only at these values of x, then that is a discrete function, right? So this kind of functions also are very common. And the same sync function with some noise added to it. It looks like this. In sync function, at least you had the hope of finding a local minimizer because it was smooth, right? You could at least find the local minimizer in this by using derivative based method. But if it is corrupted by noise, then there is no hope of even using the methods we studied yesterday, right? So this is an example of that. What we need to address this kind of complications that we discussed today is, for example, if you have a discontinuity like this, if you have a discontinuity like this, the method should be capable of jumping across this discontinuity and not just jumping across this discontinuity. Suppose I'm here, the what current solution. Maybe from here I should be able to come here. Something like teleportation. Okay, so teleportation. In what in early 80s, mid 80s, Doordarshan was the king. Okay, the only channel. Not like today that you have so many channels with so much what with over choice. So much choice that maybe you don't have choice. That kind of over choice you have. But in those days, mid 80s, you think only Doordarshan was the only. Nowadays, I even wonder if young people know what is Doordarshan. That's the government of India TV channel. Okay, so in those days, I think on Sundays there used to be a serial known as Star Trek, in which there was a spaceship, USS Enterprise, I think. Then there was a captain. So when they are in space, they, without physically going, they could reach the surface of any planet they want to reach. Like you have telepathy. Okay, telephone, television, telepathy, teleportation. All these tele means action from a distance, you think. So in that serial, people could go from the ship direct to the surface without having to land the spaceship on the surface. Okay, so that is teleportation. Now our solution or our method, from here it should be capable of coming here, just like that. That is not possible with uh, the methods we covered yesterday, the gradient based methods yesterday. From here it can come here, or it can go here, or at the most it might jump here. But from here to here, that's not possible at all. Okay, but we need that kind of. If we are to escape the local minimums and find the global minimum in a multimodal solution landscape, we need that kind of methods. Now question is, do that kind of methods exist? Okay, so we'll have a look at one of those methods, and we'll start with evolutionary algorithm. Evolution. Okay, so evolution is something that you studied probably in high school level biology. We'll try to see what is its relation to the evolution we studied, but for now we'll take it little by little. Okay, so what these evolutionary methods do, or evolutionary algorithm does, is you generate a population of initial trials or initial solutions. A population, you remember in yesterday's methods, we used only one initial guess solution, x of 0. But here, we'll use a population of initial guess solutions. Population means consisting of many. Population, Indian population means it consists of 1.39 billion individuals. Right? Sorry, what happened to me? Okay. So it consists of 1.39 billion individuals. Okay. And here in this method, why we don't use the name individuals is they are solutions. Okay. But you can also call them as individuals, nothing wrong, but they are basically trial solutions. And because these trial solutions resemble the chromosomes, they can also be called as chromosomes, because chromosomes resemble strings. You know, the human chromosome is so long that you can make it, if you have to make it into a string kind of pull it or make it into string kind of arrangement, it can reach from Earth to Moon. So long string. But all these strings are wound together in the form of a double helix. So that's why we don't realize. And also they are very small. The amount of magnification that you need to look into these chromosomes or strings is something like 10 raised to 8 or 10 raised to 10. You need a electron microscope, I think. Okay. So that is string, chromosome, trial solution or individual. The very first step and something that we do only once or zeroth step, okay, we'll call that as zeroth step, is initialization. You need to generate a population of trial solutions. Okay, so that is zeroth step. The next step is what do you do with that population? You need to select them, maybe based on their fitness. Okay, or okay, that operation is also known as reproduction, which is a older word. For some reason, they named this selection process as reproduction, and that word also is very much still in use in terminology when describing these kind of methods. Okay, but now we'll stick to selection. You select individuals from this population based on what? Maybe their fitness. Maybe their fitness. Okay, what is fitness? Okay, for example, if I am recruiting people in jobs that involve physical fitness, like army, police, or something like that, you think I'll make all these people run. Those who cannot complete, for example, 100 meters in less than 15 seconds, I'll not consider them at all. I'll reject them as unfit and take only the remaining people. Okay, I'll also do other kinds of fitness tests on them. For example, I'll give you a rope and ask them to climb from 10 feet height, right? So that kind of fitness. We need to check all the individuals for fitness and we choose only the fittest individuals. Okay, we select only the fittest individuals. These fittest individuals will reproduce. Okay, the mechanisms of reproduction are crossover or recombination. Another mechanism is mutation. Okay, so if you apply these three operators 1, 2, and 3 continuously, you can get the solution. Okay, and this is what exactly happens even in evolution. Okay, evolution. This is what happens exactly even in evolution. That is why this is known as evolutionary algorithm. But the difference is in real life evolution, each generation will take many years. For example, human generation, it can be 25 years, you think. Okay, anywhere, but think just like a blind guess on my part. One generation is 25 years, you think. In 100 generations or in 100 years, only 4 generations. 1,000 years, 40. In 10,000 years, you can have only 400 generations. Right? But as compared to that, in simulation, in program, this takes very small time. You can what make 400 generations in less than a few seconds, right? Because this is in simulation time, that is in real time. So this kind of simulation that we do is also known as artificial evolution. All right. So now that I have listed out the steps to how you can use this algorithm, let us go into a example problem. Say, this is my favorite example because you know around in 1999 That is some, how many years? 23 years back. When I was a master's student, somebody taught me evolutionary genetic algorithm or evolutionary algorithm using this example. Okay. She is now registrar in VIT Vellore. And also, okay, she also happens to be my elder sister. Those days, at that point of time, she was a PhD student, I was a MTech student. So that's how she came to teach this and say, okay, you use this algorithm to do that optimization that I wanted to do in my own area, which was control system. My MTech project was tuning of a PID controller using genetics algorithm. Okay, so but I still use this example even after referring to many books on this kind of methods because it's very simple to understand. Okay, in less than 10 or 15 minutes, you can understand what is a evolutionary algorithm, or the simplest evolutionary algorithm that I am going to explain to you now. This is an example of maximization. Remember, not minimization. The default case is minimization, but this is a case of maximization. Okay, maximize f equal to 2x minus x square by 16. With the bounds is lower bound is 0, higher bound is upper bound is 32. Okay, so how do you maximize this? By applying these 3 steps or including initialization, these 4 steps that I told you. Okay, so first thing is you generate this population. In a When you have, okay, even Professor Bedecker was telling MATLAB is such a high level language that once somebody starts using MATLAB, they'll not feel like using any other language you told, right? I really like that statement because okay, that might be his case, but we still use different other languages for other purposes. But what is that very nice and very accurate statement I made is I agree. What I admire that statement because you can generate this population with just a single MATLAB command. Okay, all that you have to do is write rand, rand. Every language has a rand command. Okay, but in other languages like C or Fortran, you might have to use for loops. But in MATLAB, the operation is vectorized. You simply need to say what is the number of rows and number of columns, it will produce that. Okay, and also rand will produce only a number between 0 and 1. But we all that we want is only 0 or 1, so you need to say round. Okay, round rand. My population size is NP. Okay, so the NP should be the number of rows. String length is pi, so it should be pi columns. uh, uh, String length 5. So population is 4. So once, just for once, shall I go to MATLAB and show you this? You can generate this with just one single command. I'll show you that. And also because this is hands-on. Okay, so I'll show you that, then come back to this. See here, all that you need to do is, okay, first we'll show rand. Rand is, we said 4 individuals of each of string length 5, right? So it will produce something like this, but we don't want that. We want it to produce only ones and zeros. So I'll write round rand 4 5. So this will produce a population of 4 individuals, each of string length 5. All right. So now again I'll go back to that presentation. Oh, I didn't share. Okay, so I'll present that. I'll show you that again. And 4 individuals, each of string length 5. It produces something like this, but we want to produce only ones and zeros, right? So I have to round off these random numbers that I get. So this is how you round off and get a population of NP number of individuals where NP is 4 and string length is 5. Okay, so now let me go back to that presentation. Right. Okay. So that is how you produce. And why produce only ones and zeros? This version that I am teaching you, that we are covering, is the easiest to understand, and that's why we call it as binary GA, BGA. There is also the continuous GA, which uses real numbers from 0 to 9. That is continuous GA or real GA. But as opposed to that, this is binary GA, and we don't use binary GA at all, because this is what that is more powerful. Continuous GA is more powerful as compared to this. But for understanding purpose, for teaching purpose, it is very useful. That's why we use this, or at least I use this, because I learned with the help of this. Anybody, any interested learner, you can teach in something like 10-15 minutes by using BGA. Okay, so we have produced the population, and next what we need to do, what do we do with the population, or what is the use of this population? These are trial solutions. Okay, so we next thing what we want to know is, does any of this minimize the function that we have? So here the fitness is based on use substituting these values in the function and seeing what is the function value. So to substitute, you can't substitute this directly in that function, x square minus x by 16, right? F equal to substitute, you need to convert this to decimal values. So you can see that converting to decimal values, these are the values. For example, 10 is, so here you see this is 2 raised to 4, 2 raised to 3, 2 raised to 2, 2 raised to 1, 2 raised to 0. So if I have 1, 1 and zeros in all these places, 2 raised to 4 is 8, 2 raised to 4 is 16, 2 cubed is 8, 16 plus 8 is 24. So that's how you get this 24. Okay, so in genetic terminology, these decoded values, these are also known as phenotypes, and these coded values, they are known as genotype. To understand what is genotype, phenotype, for example, you think I have some color of eyes, I have black eyes, you think, or some people have brown eyes, somebody has green eyes, some people have blue eyes. Now, the color of eyes in a human is not random. Okay, I get blue color only because that information which says the eyes should be blue, that is there in my genes. Okay, so the information that says that I should have black eyes is in my genes. So what is in genes is genotype, and the manifestation of that information in the form of having black eyes. So the black eyes is phenotype. Okay, so These coded individuals in binary form are genotype. The decoded values are phenotype. We use phenotype to determine the fitness of each of this. So using this 2 in, for example, x square by x minus 16. Okay, I think the function, 1 minute, let me correct it. It was 2x minus something, I think. 2x minus x square by 16. Okay, it was other way. 2x minus x square by 16. Yep. Okay. So that information, so substituting these values in the function 2x minus x square by 16, you get these values, function values. And remember, it's a maximization function. So if you want to maximize, the maximum value for us is here, right? 15. The minimum value here is here, 3.75. So what we do in selection is we make more copies of the most fit individual and less copy of the least fit individual. Okay, if you once my population is fixed at 4, and this is a very small population, you remember, only for hand calculation I have done this. So if you have only population size of 4, then and if I have more individual, fittest individual has more copies, then it means automatically means elimination of the weakest. Okay, like in films, for example, there will be one villain, one hero. There is place on earth for only one of us. Come, let us fight to the finish, they'll say. And okay, very predictably, villain will lose, hero will win. That is how the good will win over the evil. That's the message that sought to be conveyed to us, right? But it's not like that. If a species has to survive, you need the fittest individuals to survive and produce more children, and the weakest individuals to have less chance of producing children. Only that way species will survive, right? For example, among deer, which is food for predators like lion or tiger or that kind of, if there is a deer that is crippled and it cannot run, then it has no chance of surviving hunters. It's hunters, right? So because of that, the fittest should be more in number, and the species should consist of the fittest. Only then that species will survive. Okay, I'm not doing any moral science here. Okay, this is how things are supposed to work in the animal world. Not according to me, but according to Charles Darwin. Hope you remember him. Okay, or at least enough. He only said all these kind of things. And that is what we are trying to mimic here in this algorithm. Okay, the fittest must have more copies or more chance of mating or finding partners or have more partners. In olden days, for example, kings used to have many wives, right? Why he could have many wives? Because he was so fit, he was so rich, so powerful that he could have that. He could do that. Whereas the poorest man, possibly in the kingdom, may not have any partner at all, right? So he'll not get a chance to uh, pass on his genes to the next generation in the form of having children. Okay, so that's how it happened. Okay, even now, if you go to a job interview, you think there are only 2, 3 jobs, but 20 or 30 people are there. How the system is supposed to work is they are supposed to choose the fittest 3 people and eliminate the remaining people. Okay, so maybe that's how it works. Okay, so even in, for example, exams, The best student will get maximum marks. The good student might get okay less than him, but still good enough. The weakest students will fail, may not even qualify. They may fail, right? So that is again selection of selection based on fitness. Okay. So this is selection operator. Now it is over. Our selection rate is 75%. Rejection rate is 25%. Okay. So what do we do after selecting? Next question is, what do we do after selecting? After selecting, we do crossover or recombination. Okay. So think that this is father, this is mother. Okay. This father and mother, this is father, this is mother, you think. Father and mother should contribute and produce a child. Okay, so these two. Okay, these two. In Alva, here there is no concept of father mother, no male female, but just for improved understanding, I am saying. Okay, think that this is parent one, this is parent two. Sex neutral. Okay, no female, male. Parent one, parent two together should produce one child. Same way, these two parents should produce one child. These two should produce one child. These two should produce one child. And also note that the fittest individual in the generation, he gets chance to become parent twice. And the weakest individual is not there in the list of parents at all. The weakest individual here, that is 00010, is not there in the list of parents at all here. And the strongest individual 10011 is there present twice in this mating pool. Okay, so if you have like this, you have for a society of prospective parents. So all these parents will choose a partner. For example, this has chosen a partner 1001. This one. So these two will produce a child. So child here means what? So what is this business of producing a child? So I'll show you with a simpler example what happens in human. For example, you have mother, you have father. As all of you will recollect from high school level, that's one of the most basic things learnt at that stage of life, you think. The sex of the offspring, baby, is decided by the 23rd pair of chromosomes. For a female, it is XX. For a male, it is XY. And what happens in human reproduction is you have you have egg, you have sperm. So one half of the genetic material must have to come from the egg. The other half must come from the sperm. Only if they two join can you have a baby. Or one half of the chromosomes must come from mother, other half must come from father. I can't say only my gene should be there, mother gene should not be there. Same way, mother can't say, okay, I don't want any male. I'll on my own, I'll produce a copy of all my genes, 100% of my genes. That's simply not possible. Okay, so here you think of how these contributions come for deciding the sex of the child, which is decided by the 23rd pair, the last in the 23rd pair of chromosomes. Okay, so mother has XX, father has XY. The only place where they can separate is in the middle. So mother produces two halves XX, father produces two halves XY. On any of these, XX can join with this XY. thereby producing a child. Okay, so the combinations possible are here. 4 combinations are possible here. So depending on that, you can have a male or female baby. Okay, simplest example. Same thing we do even here. Even here, we can split. Okay, 0 1 0 0 1. I can split the chromosome here, 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 or in other words, hello.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I accidentally got disconnected.
No problem.
Yeah, I'll continue now. Okay, so what was I telling? You can split this chromosome at any of one of the 4 points, and the mate also has to split at the same point. Okay, crossover site, that is known as crossover site. There are 4 crossover sites here. If both of them use the same crossover site, then you can make a individual, right? So for example, if the crossover site is 3 here, maybe from the left or from the right. So counting from the left, okay, 0 1 0 0 1. That is one parent.
Excuse me, sir.
The other parent is 1 0.
Sir, your screen
Yes.
is not shared with us.
Oh, sorry, wait. Right. Thank you for that. So we have one individual here, one individual here. So both of them are here. My crossover site is 3. So counting from the left, this is 3. Okay. So counting from the left, this is 3. Here also it is 3. Now how I make children is I can connect this part with this part, or I can connect this part with this part. Okay, so by this was one, sorry, this was one here, double one. So if I connect this part with this part, 0 1 0 double 1. So that is my child here. So if I want to produce only one child, this is what I'll use. By using both this, maybe I can even produce 2 children simultaneously. 2 children different. Okay, 2 different children. Not the case, not something that doesn't happen in what that not that easy, at least in higher organisms like human beings. Okay, so one child, you think one child we produce like we have here. So similarly, you produce lot of children here. 4 parents together produce 4 children, so that the population size is same. And now question is, what did we achieve by producing children? Or is it of any use to produce children? Or what is the use of producing children? So one of my BTech students answered, no use, sir, because we are already 1.4 billion in number in India. And what is the use of producing children in such a country? No use. Okay. But it's not like that. We are not talking about India or China. We are talking here in optimization. What we hope to achieve by producing children is children will be better individuals than parents. Okay, so let us see how they are better, or are they really better. The combined fitness of all these parents, the cumulative fitness is sigma f is equal to 44.13, you think, by adding all this fitness. Now for the child generation, the combined fitness is has increased to something like near 58. Correct. Which means we have actually improved the fitness by producing children, and not blindly producing children, but by eliminating the weakest from the mating pool. If you eliminate the weakest from the mating pool and have only fitter individuals in the parent population, then children will be fitter. Okay, so that is how we have produced fitter children. Right? So we can continue this process. Children now they can become parents. Okay, can become parents. So for that again you decode their fitness, see their fitness. The weakest individual, if you want, you eliminate. And here, okay, so in that book source which I not book, somewhere some material, not exactly a book, I think, which was showed to me, which was referred to me, given some 2 pages of that, I think. So in that source, what was in the this is the first generation parents over, now the children are parents, this is second generation. Okay, so if you call that as 0th generation, this is first generation. Okay, who are becoming parents. Now you see that the weakest is here, but instead of this, suppose I eliminate a stronger one and weaker one is there, will the method still work? So in methods, conventional methods which I told you yesterday, for example in Newton's method, instead of going like this, if you go in opposite direction once, means you are finished. You are not going to solve the problem. But here, because we are using only a population of solutions, one mistake that you make, or maybe even more, it doesn't matter. Maybe it will take more iterations or generations, but that is all. It's not going to matter. In all these soft computing methods, that is the what evolutionary computation or meta heuristic optimization, neural networks, fuzzy logic, and maybe all these methods, other methods. There is some tolerance for mistakes in soft computing. What we said yesterday are hard computing methods. In hard computing, if you do a mistake, you are finished, because their tolerance to mistakes is 0. As compared to them, soft computing methods are fault tolerant, because of which they'll still work. Okay, so this will work in spite of this mistake. So now in the second time, when children have become parents, again we can produce children. Now there are these grandchildren. What about the fitness of these grandchildren? You see that we have improved the fitness of the grandchildren over the children generation, and not just that, we have achieved the maximum fitness that is possible for f is equal to 2x minus x square by 16. And of course, the problem I told you is very silly. problem I told you is very silly, right? Silly for understanding, for working out by hand. More complicated problems will use a more higher population size, higher what continuous GA. We'll make lot of refinements to that, but this is explanation of the genetic algorithm at its simplest. And just in case you have a doubt on this, is this really the best value that you can get? Let us see the graph. You see that 2x minus x square maximum value is here. Function value is 16, x value also is 16, right? So that means in just 2 generations, we have achieved the solution. It is never possible in a real life problem. Okay, but this is for explanation. So hope I explained that. You understood that genetic algorithm, binary genetic algorithm. There is a lot of refinements, sophisticated features that we can add to this. For example, I said only crossover. I never, even though in the list initially I told you there is another operator known as mutation. Without using mutation, I have got this solution, right? I have got this solution without using mutation. Now, mutation is useful in multimodal problems. Okay, that is useful in multimodal problems. You remember that Star Trek example I told you. Suppose my solution is here. To jump from here to here, what will help me is mutation. And what exactly is mutation? Suppose my rate of mutation is 1 in 20 or 1 by 20 or 0.05%. Then there are 20 bits in this population. Okay, 5 bits in each, 4 individuals, that is 20 bits. If my rate of mutation is 1 by 20, I can flip one of these 20 bits in the whole of the population. Flip meaning I have to, if it is 1, I have to make it 0. If it is 0, I have to make it 1. And which bit will I flip? I can choose that also randomly. Randomly, I can choose a bit in this 20 in this 20 bits and flip that. That is mutation. Okay. So by doing mutation, what we hope to achieve is, if population is here, by flipping, hopefully from here it will come here, or from here it will go here. Only if I do small changes like in gradient methods, it will go up and down. If I do mutation means it might even jump. It will come to a different place in the solution landscape. Okay, it will teleport itself to a different place in the solution landscape. It's a teleportation. You remember that serial I told you. From here, it will disappear here and materialize somewhere else, which is not adjacent to this, not necessarily adjacent to its original location. Okay, so that's mutation. Mutation is useful in multimodal solution landscapes, not in this problem, because it's a unimodal problem that I took. Okay, only one. It is having only one. Unimodal functions can be like this or like this, you think. These are simplest. Okay, used only for teaching. So in unimodal function, if you have only one crossover, that's enough. You don't need mutation. So that's why it worked here. So this is genetic algorithm, the evolutionary algorithm. And let me go back and add just one small piece of information. Okay, this selection based on fitness and survival of the fittest. Okay, so these are all not my own words, but think they this terminology was introduced by Charles Darwin. Okay, what he told was, okay, there is that book, The Origin of Species. Okay, the struggle for existence and the survival of the fittest and the origin of species. Okay, so this is all written in his book, uh, 1857 or 59, when Indian what War of Indian Independence was taking place around 1857. Charles Darwin was writing his book, The Origin of Species book, in which he told these phrases, famous phrases. Every species has a struggle for existence, in which the survival of the fittest happens, and that is how maybe the original species or new species comes into being. Okay, so that is what we try to do here in this algorithm, any evolutionary algorithm, because other than the genetic algorithm, there is also the evolutionary programming, etc., which I'll show you now. Which I'll show you now. So, but before we go to that, what are the other algorithms? See, what we did was mimicking something like producing children, and over the long run, something like evolution. Okay, but uh, see that you noted that it can find the optimizer. So let us ask, is there any maths at all in biology, and in particular in evolution? Is there any maths? Because nowadays, or okay, even in my days, one choice children used to have was you study maths, physics, chemistry, maths, or you study physics, chemistry, biology. Either maths or biology. In most schools, only rarely that maths and biology together could be studied. Right. Now, the way we are looking at this, it looks as if there seems to be some relation between maths and biology. Actually, there are courses, mathematical biology, in best universities like MIT now, which are compulsory core courses, not elective courses. Okay, so in the immediate context, is there any maths in biology? And if it is yes, why do we fail to accept or recognize that there is maths in biology? And evolution, our mimicking the evolution is optimization, right? Why we got optimizer using mimicking evolution. So from this point of view, you can see evolution as a optimization process or a method of optimization. But why do we fail to accept that? Because the maths that we do in school has these properties. If I say 2 into 3, it has to be 6. I can't say 5 or 4. Okay, so that we call as certainty, consistency, correctness. Okay, all these properties you read and see. Okay, so in this kind of maths that I presented you now, everything was random or seemingly random. Wait 1 minute, sorry. Seemingly random, right? I chose the population, I produced what initial population I generated randomly. The mate also I chose randomly. Crossover site was random. Then the mutation, if I do, that is also random. Sometimes even that selection can be wrong. So with all this randomness in the process, if I can still optimize, that is something the human mind finds it very difficult to understand, because that kind of maths we never learned. That is why we don't accept evolution as a optimization process. Okay, so all these things I didn't tell. Okay, maths and biology question I didn't ask. Okay, I didn't ask. Okay, don't credit me with that. I was a student in 90s, right? In 99 2000. That time MTech was only 3 semesters. I wanted to do project in third semester. Somebody introduced this to me, and this book was given to me. So I read from there. So this stuff that I'm telling you is more than 22 or 23 years old, almost a quarter century later. And he wrote the book even earlier. So 30 years back, this is the material that I'm showing you. Okay. The author who said all this is Koza. The book name is Genetic Programming. Okay. He, like GA, he proposed one genetic programming algorithm. So in that book, he said all these things. Okay. So we come to that. We come to the evolutionary computation family of the methods. They are known by many names. Okay. Many names. In the for the workshop, I said meta heuristic methods because they are the most popular, currently most popular name. The oldest name was evolutionary computation. The IEEE transactions on evolutionary computation, it started in 1997, some 25 years back. Okay. At that time, like I told you, my sister was PhD student, I was a MTech student. Okay. So at that time, uh, what evolutionary computation itself, it had two main branches. Nowadays, there are more branches using mainly evolutionary algorithms and swarm intelligence. So, how much time left, Aparna? We are nearing 1 o'clock, right?
Yes, sir. We are 1 o'clock. So we have time up to 1:30.
No, no, but yeah, what are people really willing to listen up to that point of time?
Uh, we can have question answers also.
I can add?
Question answers can be asked, like if the participants are
Okay,
having any
okay.
doubt.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. So I'll finish in the next few minutes. Yeah,
Okay.
you can ask any if you have any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, today, what this is the last session I have. Thanks to all of them. So you have okay. You have two branches mainly. Can you please mute? Got it. Thank you, thank you. You can have many. You have branches, at least two branches, old branches, well-known branches. So in that, there is another way of doing all this population of solutions, etc. That's known as swarm intelligence. There is also the TLBO and Jaya algorithm, which last week Dr. Rao, Professor Rao said, okay, they don't fall in any of this swarm intelligence or evolutionary algorithm category. Okay, they are one of the swarm methods. See, all these are based on modeling behavior of organisms in nature, this swarm intelligence. So TLBO is modeling, teaching, learning based optimization. So that's not in any of this. So many are okay. So now that is why the name nature inspired methods these days. Okay, nature based, physics based, chemistry based, uh, bio based, bio inspired. So many are there nowadays. So this material is there. Hopefully in future somebody will organize something where we can discuss all of this, more of this. These are things, some of the other things that I have in the material. PSO, then you can do a lot of self-learning in this. No, it's not wrong. Okay, not necessary that somebody should teach and only then you can learn. Like, okay, even what my sister, elder sister, when she was a PhD student, she learned all this on her own, and she taught little of this to me. With that little, I picked up more of it. Okay, so you also can learn once you get some basic idea. So application part, okay, how you apply to any practical problem. For example, economic dispatch. Our main publications are in this area, in economic dispatch. Okay, so that's why I thought we'll explain one of them. But if we don't have time, that's we don't have time. So after that, okay. So in 2000, I finished ME. You think? Afterwards, I was in teaching for a few years. Then again, I left to do PhD. Okay, in around 2004 to IASC. My sister, she continued and published these papers. You see that my name is there, her name is there. Okay, so those papers that we published, actually, this Jaikmar is my student, not her student. Her student was Jaiprakash. Okay, so those papers that we published now around how many, more than 15 years back, they have good citations. Okay, good citations, but not very good citations because the journal is not some IEEE or something like that. So because you can find more details of the G and PSO that we used, or you can understand by referring to these papers. If you like, then you can find my full list of publications by on Google Scholar or on Scopus or what Research Gate, many places. Okay, so you type T Raghunathan, you can get. So we have quite highly cited publications in economic dispatch problems, maybe capacitor distributed generation, capacitor placement, etc. So finally, but thanks to all the people who made it possible for me to be a resource person and present all of you with the opportunity to learn. Okay, all of you, what you got a very fine opportunity to learn from very different people, a very accomplished set of resource persons. If you want, you exclude me from that. But think of Dr. Rao, that director of Surat NIT, right? You got what chance to listen to all such people only because, for example, there is Aparna and Gadge, right? Who pursued me relentlessly, okay, and almost forced me to accept. Okay, so same way, okay, she has that what gift for what making people accept. Otherwise, see, even today I had invigilation duty this morning. I left that and I'm doing a program being resource person is all thanks to all these people who in turn, okay, they could do because of IEEE Bombay. Then your own management, you think, if there is no support from management from your institution, then this kind of things are not possible at all, right? And my own dean suggested my name for this research. So think that if anything happens, there is lot of credit to be shared among lot of people. Wait. So that is the last part. So thank you once again. What you learn from any short-term training program is entirely up to students, participants. Okay, don't lose that opportunity. Take it all seriously. finally last concluding session. If you have any questions, I think a couple of questions at least we can answer.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, kindly ask.
Yes, thank you, sir. Participants, do you have any questions? I think they don't have any question. So thank you, sir, for your wonderful session on gradient-based optimization basics and evolutionary algorithms, especially that is genetic algorithm. Sir, you had given us insight for understanding classical methods of optimizations, not classical methods, but also the advanced methods such as genetic algorithm, quick overview for PSO and other nature-based algorithms. Thank you so much, sir. It is well said that theory without practice is empty and practice without theory is blind. Sir, what we feel that your session was not only the theoretical, not only the practical, but it was a great combination or great fusion of theory as well as practice, especially in uh, MATLAB tool. We feel great, so sir, for your session. And also your session made us, as you told us, that good questions are more important than good answers. So what we feel, sir, that your session has made us to ask you good questions, not now, but by mail. We are going to ask you. So thank you so much for your wonderful session, very informative and very useful session to understand what exactly the optimization techniques. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Aparna. Thank you, Gadge. Thank you, all the participants. I
Thank
hope
you, sir.
you benefited. Next time, you be prepared more mentally, be more prepared to